I've always been drawn to Frida. She creates poetry on canvas that I feel like I haven't seen anywhere else. It's so palatable. It's like so joyful and has so much sorrow and emotion. It's delicate and she's just a really inspiring person. The way she dressed was art. The way she talked, the way she read, everything about the way she carried herself was art. And it's funny that she didn't see herself as an artist until so much later in life because she was an artist the entire time. My name is Sémone Kessler and I'm an architect. I think life always imitates art and art always imitates life. Frida did such a good job of that.
Frida is about the life of Frida Kahlo. It's a biographical piece. Kahlo's work make her an icon because she talks about gender fluidity, she talks about sexuality, identity, and self-expression, and these are all themes that were difficult to talk about at the time that she was alive.
From a young age, I've just always been so connected to her work. It's so palatable. It's so joyful and has so much sorrow and emotion. It's delicate and she's just a really inspiring person.
The movie Frida was directed by Taymor. Taymor is an American director. She seamlessly works between media and tells conventional stories in an unconventional way.
One of the most interesting things about this film is it takes place at La Casa Azul, which is Frida's family house. It's where she was born, it's where she lived her childhood. Her and Diego ended up living there as well, and she died in this home. And during that time, she changed La Casa Azul to her design aesthetic. She painted it with that beautiful cobalt blue. She took out all of the roses and planted all Mexican indigenous plants. There is something really radical and so beautiful about that. I do think that that is in line with my design aesthetic. With this space, I'm going to create something that Frida could enjoy in the modern day. I had 2 weeks and a budget of $5,000. We knew from the beginning we had to create a library for her, somewhere where she could pick up one of her favorite philosophy books, lay down, relax. And we knew we didn't want it to be an art studio, but we wanted it to feel extremely artful. I loved working on this project because I had Frida Kahlo as a client.
Frida had a strong sense of who she was. Biggest indicator of that was the unibrow. The main reason she did that was because she did not want to conform to the societal pressures and ideas of what beauty was. The whole movie is shot with a lot of vibrancy and warm colors, just as her paintings were. The movie spotlights her legacy and brings it to people around the world.
I've always been drawn to Frida. She creates poetry on canvas that I feel like I haven't seen anywhere else. The steps for this project were a lot like how we approach a lot of our other projects. First, had a discovery session. We watched the movie, we figured out what we wanted, what our values were, how we were going to create the space, and then we started finding inspiration. And a lot of what you can see behind me is the inspiration of what we wanted to build. Tease out images that were evocative of her and her life. And then we modeled the space, rendered it, we played around with materials, and we designed everything and sent it out for production. Matter Studio is an architecture practice that's committed to intentional design. Our process is extremely collaborative. Once you understand how someone thinks, you can create something that's aligned for them. I love a brutalist way of looking at things. You kind of complement that with the material choices and working with natural materials that have a sort of natural beauty, natural patina. Honestly, it made it really easy to make these decisions because we had so much to work with through the movie, of course through her art, her life. There's a lot there. As we were designing, we wanted to bring in different elements of her story and her journey. We were extremely inspired by Frida's activism and how much she read and her love of philosophy and her affair with Trotsky. And we thought that creating a library space would be incredibly important for her. Frida's home was painted this gorgeous shade of cobalt blue, but we wanted to go a little deeper with it. And when she moved out of that home to get away from Diego, she moved into this green space. All the walls were green. She painted black words all over them, and that was her rock bottom space of sorrow, but that's where she really started painting for herself.
One of the main storytelling techniques that was used while they shot Frida was how they brought some of the paintings that she had worked on in her life back into reality. Salma Hayek, who plays Frida, poses in matching ways as the painting, and that actually conveys what she was going through at that moment in time.
We knew we wanted to bring a stone into the project. We thought that bringing in a marble could be a really interesting exercise because marble is created by sandstone and no two pieces are alike. They are essentially pieces of art. I knew I wanted to pick a wood material that could have been grown in Mexico. So we went with a walnut and we built these boxes out. Reminds me of the indigenous architecture of Mexico and Mesoamerica. I think as an architect, when I look at something like designing an interior space, it has to be custom for me. It has to feel unique to just this moment and just this space. That allows us to be able to do some of that artwork ourselves, to insert ourselves into the process a little bit. And that's so fun and so rewarding. And then to be able to be building these things, really seeing how they're coming together, allows you to really feel like this is yours. It came from your imagination and you built it with your two hands and now you get to relax on it. It's an incredible feeling. Architecture should be really incredible to occupy. It should make you excited and should make you happy, and it has the power to do that if done correctly. This room is a library in La Casa Azul. It's a space for Frida to come and read, put all of her beautiful philosophy and activism books, and just relax and kind of enjoy the space. The shelving for this space was inspired by kind of the brutalist architecture of La Casa Azul and also the pyramids of Teotihuacan that her and Trotsky traversed. They climbed up together, and at the top of that pyramid she had a really incredible moment where she realized that she could be an artist. And so these are mirrored off of kind of that brutalism, those large steps. It really just reminds me of kind of the indigenous architecture of Mexico and Mesoamerica. One of the scenes of the movie that I was really drawn to was the scene where Frida was going to visit her mother's grave on Dia de los Muertos, and Diego knew she would be there and comes and finds her and asks her to do him a favor and to meet Trotsky at the airport. You know, it's Dia de los Muertos, there are candles everywhere, everyone's praying, there are flowers, and everyone kind of takes little pictures and puts them up next to the graves. And when I found these, they really felt like of that moment. We knew we wanted to go with a more organic light fixture for the sconces, something maybe even a little creature, because Frida always drew these little creatures in all of her artwork. They're like a 1960s Murano glass. We knew they would just frame this portrait of her really beautifully. When I found these niches and the same artist had this matching mirror, I thought it was perfect. I brought that into the space to kind of represent how Frida would paint all these self-portraits, looking in a mirror, or even when it was attached to her bed, kind of looking at herself. I'd say every detail in here has a little bit of significance. The perfume bottle I actually sourced vintage. The pottery up above with the candles, we sourced those on Olvera Street. Bringing those in would kind of bring back that Dia de los Muertos morbid but beautiful afterlife quality. When I was selecting the books, I knew I wanted to bring in a lot of art books, a lot of tabletop books, books that she could kind of use as inspiration while she was painting, and also books written by authors who really have a great point of view. So I brought in Ta-Nehisi Coates, some books by Gaudi, some books by Yayoi Kusama, incredible figures I think she would be good friends with. One of the biggest themes in this film that I actually was quite surprised by when I rewatched it is Frida starting to establish herself and believe in herself as an artist. Her art is extremely dark, but it's also really beautiful and really joyful, which is what life is. It's, you know, these mountains and valleys, and she came into her own during that time. I'm Sémone Kessler, and that's how you style this.